Morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Worthiness Wednesday. I think this is maybe the 10th or 11th consecutive week that I've been doing these live streams. And I hope and I trust that you're getting a lot of growth and expansion from them, and that you're learning a lot and taking positive action in your life in order to feel worthy and to better your relationship with yourself, which in turn betters your relationship with others, right? Today, what I wanted to talk about, this is Single Ladies Week, and today what I wanted to talk about is how to use your intuition to date better. I'm Krisha Young. I am a mind unfucker and a worthiness coach, and I am here to help you release the patterns that cause you to self-betray, right? And not using your intuition or not trusting your intuition or not knowing how ends up being a form of self-betrayal, right? It's that whole sense of like, oh my God, I knew that. I knew I should have done that. I knew I should have said that or whatever, right? And what does that do? It makes us feel like shit, right? And so I don't want you to feel like shit. And that's what I am here in service to you today. And always to help you know who you are, know what your voice is, speak your truth, and overcome any obstacle that might be in the way of that. And overcoming obstacle, actually, if you see that there, this is Ganesh. And Ganesh is a Hindu deity, and the purpose of Ganesh is an obstacle remover. And so that's what I'm here for you, to help you. And how do we do this? This is my backwards. And there's a little view of a rainy Vancouver day. Okay, so if you are on here live, hashtag live. If you are watching the replay, hashtag replay. Again, thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. So today, what we're going to talk about is how to trust your intuition and date with confidence, okay? And first of all, let's talk a little bit about what intuition is, okay? I think most women and most people in my community already have a really good sense of what intuition is. And most of the women in my community, most of you guys, women, listen to it. But it might not be always something that you trust. And the thing that I hear a lot is, when I say, well, just trust your gut. And there's this, well, my gut lets me down, like my intuition lets me down. And when I hear that, I know immediately that person is not listening to their intuition. They're listening to their fear. And it can be really difficult to decipher the difference between intuition and fear within your own brain, within your own body, until you go through certain processes in order to understand and feel and really get to know what the difference is between those two things. And this is the work that I do with women inside Feminine Rising. And my private coaching containers. But inside Feminine Rising, what we do is, get really clear on what is fear. What is the story? What's the pattern? What's the BS? What's the lie that feels like the truth versus what is actual intuition? What is your inner knowing? What is your higher self coming through trying to tell you? It's incredibly difficult to decipher and pull those two pieces apart. And, I love helping women do that and seeing that. And once you have that reflected back, you're like, oh, I get it. Now I understand which voice is which. And this is incredibly helpful when you're dating, of course, right? And so if you're not dating, if you're in a committed relationship or whatnot, this is still applicable for you as well, because you might be experiencing times when you want to speak up, you want to say something, and you feel like you should, but you stop yourself, right? What's that stop, right? And that's the obstacle that I want to help you remove. So if you are on here live and you're watching, comment with areas where you find yourself like wanting to say something, but you stop yourself, so that I can give you some real-time live coaching or assistance or suggestions or tips or tools or whatnot, to help you out right away. So when it comes to dating, I mean, it's kind of a minefield these days. And, you know, personally, for myself, I'll share. I've been in monogamous relationships since I was 16. So my relationship history is that, my it's kind of traumatic, but I'm over it now. I've healed it now. But my mom, kicked me out of the house when I was 16, and my first thing to do was to go and live with my boyfriend, and he was an abusive narcissist. Like, it was awful. So I'm not gonna ruin your morning with that story, but basically that was that. And I was with him for a decade, because I was terrified to leave, and I had no skills on how to be single, and no skills on how to be alone, and no skills on how to manage my own life. It was like I went from my mom's house to my boyfriend's house, and that was that, right? And so that was like the patterning of my relationships. And then I would break free, be single for like 5 minutes, and then meet somebody and cling on to them and just be like, oh my God, I don't know how to cope with the single stuff, right? So, in full disclosure, being completely single and dating is a relatively new thing for me. And I'm doing it during COVID. Which is fun. Tell you what, last year in 2020 in Toronto on full lockdown, that was a lot of fun. So lots of learning there. Happy to share my experiences and what I learned in that. But what I've learned over the last couple of years, as I've dove even deeper into my own intuition and my own knowing, and who I am and what I want and what I need and all that kind of stuff, now that I'm fully single, living on my own, have my own space, all of that kind of stuff, which is amazing, by the way, is the patterning around being afraid to speak my needs, and being afraid to, rock the boat when it came to being on dates. And that was one of the things that I see a lot with my clients who are in the dating pool as well. Or even, like I said, even in a committed relationship, right? Like, it's not just one area or the other, but we're specifically talking to the single ladies here today. And a lot of this comes down to knowing what it is that you want, right? So the number one reason why we struggle speaking what we want is because we don't know what the hell that is, right? We have been programmed as women to not know who we are and not know what we want, like, just toe the line, be a good girl, don't rock the boat, all that BS, which we know is BS. Like, we know it's BS. But when it's been so deeply conditioned within us for centuries now, we're talking centuries of this shit, right? And then brought down by lineages from our moms and our grandmothers and things like that, like, just don't rock the boat, don't speak. And I know that was prevalent in my matriarchy lineage as well, with my grandmother and my mom and all of that, right? And so, it's kind of like, it's not our fault, right? But it is our responsibility now to heal this collectively and individually, to be able to clear the throat chakra, clear the solar plexus chakra, so that we can have the ability to be able to say what it is that we want to say, or say what, say what the truth is of the situation, without worrying about being rejected or hurting somebody else or anything like that. And there's two ways in which we can do this. The one way is where we suppress it so much that we blow up, and in a fit of rage, or we finger point, or we blame, or we get into that space because we've been repressing ourselves so much, right? Or we do it in the new way, the better way, which is knowing who we are, knowing what's important to us, right? So this is where, when we come into Feminine Rising, what we do is we take a look at what are your core values, what are the things that you actually want, right, in your life, that you're afraid to ask for because you don't think that you can get it, you don't think you can have it, you think maybe it's too much to ask for. You should be grateful for what you have, right? Like all of those stories. We all have these like inner desires, inner wants that we want, that we feel like maybe I shouldn't ask for that, right? And when we can raise that to the surface and finally speak it out, right? Even just to one another, we get clearer on what it is that we want, and we work on usually what happens is there's some level of anxiety or something like that comes up within this region here of the body. And what I do with you inside of Feminine Rising is get you clear on what that body sensation is. I'm always asking, where is this in your body? Where do you feel this in your body? Because your body is your intuition. Your body is the place where you can get those answers for yourself, right? Not your mind. Your mind is there just to help you problem solve and, figure things out, but it's not there to help you decide, and it's not there to help you know who you are and know what to say and know what the truth is, right? So let's say you're on a date, right? You're newly dating, you're going out there, you've met this guy, and, there's certain things that you're just like, wait, is this a red flag, or is this like my patterning coming up? Or you might not even say patterning, but you might be confused. You might just feel confused about somebody, and you're not sure how to say, I want this. I would prefer it if. I would like it if. Or even ask the tougher questions right out the gate, like date 1, date 2, date 3, finding out the things. Are you married? I mean, one of the most important questions that we need to ask when we're dating, especially nowadays, especially with the apps. I can't tell you how many dudes have come through on Hinge and Bumble that have been in relationships. And I'm like, what the, what are you doing on this app? And there's an innocent assumption that women have, and men too, but let's just talk about the ladies here. There's an innocent assumption that we have that if a guy's on a dating app, he's single. We can't assume anything, ladies, nothing. We need to take back our power in this instance and ask the right, hard, uncomfortable questions right at the beginning, because otherwise we get fucked over in the end, right? Like if we're too afraid to speak this at the beginning, what do we see happening? 6 months down the road, we find out he's married and he's got kids. Like, what? Where did that come from? Well, because we didn't ask the right questions out the gate. Now, that's an extreme example, okay? But there's so many instances where, and men are working on right now at a collective level how to speak. And the issue that men have is that they don't want to disappoint us. They just don't. Like it's weird because of how they go about it, but they don't want to disappoint us. So they lie or they omit the truth. And they don't want to be rejected. They are just as terrified of rejection, if not more, than us. Okay. I work with men as well. Just as an aside, I am an associate coach for a coaching company that works exclusively with men. So twice a month I go in there and I run workshops for these men. So I'm working on the men too, ladies, helping them understand women and helping them, understand how to communicate for themselves too. And so it's both and here, right? So we have a personal responsibility to now know what our truth is, know what it is that we want to say, raise our standards, which means we need to raise our self-worth, which means that we need to know what it is that we want, and we need to know that we're worthy. We need to know we're worthy of receiving what we want, right? And that's usually the wet wool blanket that we have on top of us is that like sense of like, well, I'm not good enough. And if I ask, I'm probably not going to get, I'm going to reject, or I'm going to be rejected or whatnot. Right. It's just this like swirling, whirling thing. Do you guys know what I'm talking about here? Like, can you relate to what I'm saying here? If you can, let me know in the comments. I want to hear from you. If this is landing, if this is resonating, give me some high fives, some likes and hearts and things like that too. If you're picking up what I'm putting down here. So you're on your date, right? And you like this guy, and maybe there's some chemistry, and he's like, pulling out all the stops, and he's like, and men are very, very, very good at asking all the questions. So what men are doing, men are quite efficient with this stuff. They want to know, certain things about you. They basically want to know, like, are you psycho or not? Like, not to be insulting about it, but that's kind of what it is that they want to know. So what men do is they ask you all these questions because they also know we love to talk. We love to talk about ourselves, and they know this. And so they leverage that. So we need to get smarter when it comes to dating and know this and get them to talk. So the other day, I met somebody new. We haven't physically gone out yet. We're going out in a couple of days. And we had our original conversation, and I said nothing. I just let this man talk. And I found out everything I need to know. And now I have a couple of red flags that I can sit with and decide whether or not I want to continue pursuing something with this man or not. And it's also an indication for me to ask deeper questions about this particular situation in his life, because if I ignore it, this is what we do. We stuff the elephant in the room, under the table, right? We're just like, oh, well, maybe that'll go away or whatever, because we're afraid to confront it because we don't want to be alone, right? We want to find our guy or whatnot. But it just leads us to so much trouble down the end. And I know you know what I'm talking about, ladies. You might not be experiencing this now. Maybe you've experienced this in the past. What I really want for you is to find healthy love, but that means you have to be healthy love first and foremost, which means you have to know who you are, what you want, clear the worthiness blocks, and speak your truth in that, right? So now I have this man who's told me all these things, and I'm like, okay, now I know this thing about this person. Do I want to continue pursuing this or not? I don't know yet. And the only reason why I don't know yet is because I haven't actually physically met him, right? But I'm going to go into this meeting now armed with this information, and not with an armor over my heart, but with a solid knowing of where my boundaries are in that particular situation, right? And there's a very big difference. So what women do, unhealed women who are still in trauma patterns, right? Which is not a judgment. It just is what it is. There's like armor over your heart, right? So you go into dating, or you go into these situations either like wanting to battle and like, okay, how are you going to fuck me over? And that might be like an undercurrent, right? How's this guy going to lie to me? How's this guy's fucking liar? This guy's this, right? Like I see this all over the place on Facebook groups and stuff like that. Women who are like ragey against men, or it's the innocent victim, the innocent, like, oh, but like, I love this man and I thought he was da 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 da, right? No, we need to know who we are, what we want, how to speak it, right? And what our boundaries are in this, right? And especially if you are like, I'm 45. So the men, like I've been dating quite a wide range. 26 was the youngest, and 50 something has been the oldest so far. And you learn a lot in that spectrum. And the older men obviously will have situations, right? Just like I do. I have an ex and I have 2 little boys, right? And so I come with that into any relationship. I don't bring that into dating though. But I'm meaning like there's no meeting of my children. Absolutely not. No way, no how, until I know who you are and I know we're solid. Like that's just a no. That's a very solid boundary. Now, some women who, might be loose on that and, introduce children earlier, or like get caught up in the fantasy of having this man like come in and like be part of the family, because at the end of the day, ladies, what we want is harmony. We want love. We want peace, and we love having family in whatever that looks like for us, right? We love being surrounded by community. We love being surrounded by people who we love, and that is okay. So it's not wrong of us to let things kind of slide so that we can have that. But when we're doing it in an unconscious way and we're letting the wrong things slide, we're just throwing fucking time bombs into our future of stuff that we have to undo, and it's expensive and it's painful. And I know you know what I'm talking about. If you know what I'm talking about, give me an emoji, give me something here so I know that you know what I'm talking about here. And this could be from previous experience or what you're experiencing right now in your life, right? When we ignore those red flags at the beginning, because our intuition is not a fine-tuned machine, it is a time bomb we have literally just thrown into our future, right? So we need to know, what is it that we want? What are our boundaries? What are we willing to compromise on? And what is an absolute no for us, right? And what happens is, what I see when women come in and work with me, the single women, the list of what they want in a dude or in a partner is like, it's the surface stuff, right? And that is the stuff that gets us into a lot of trouble. And so what I do is I'll walk you through a much more deeper, detailed process of, exploring different realms that you've never even thought of, right? Like, what's your working style, and how do you want your partner to support your work in the world? Who asks that question? Nobody really asks that question. And it's incredibly important that we have a partner that supports our way of working in the world, right? So, for example, I'm an entrepreneur. I run my own time. I have tons of freedom because I created that. That was important to me way back in 2015 when I quit my corporate job. I knew what I was walking into. Well, actually, I didn't know what I was walking into, but I thought I knew what I was walking into in terms of entrepreneurship. Whoa. But freedom is my number one value. And I've done everything I possibly can in order to honor that value in myself, right? And so my partner needs to also value that and understand and honor the work I'm doing here. So I can't have a partner who has an issue with me going live and being a public figure and talking about the things that I talk about, right? Like, I can't have that. And that's what I want to press upon you, right? What are the things that are really important to you? And do you even know what those are? And how do you own that for yourself so that when you are in that initial dating phase, you're looking for those particular things and to see, is he making comments about, like, I had a guy come through the other day. He's like, wow, you're really all over the place when I Google you. And I'm like, he's out. Like, I didn't even respond to that. Because it's like, yeah, like, yes. So if you have a problem with that, it can't work, right? So those tiny, teeny little things, it's so important to know all of these things about yourself so that you can know what questions to ask in the really early stages of dating. And going back to what I was saying before, a tough, important question to ask is there anybody in your life right now who would be sad to know that you're on a date with me right now? And if there is, then like, that guy should answer honestly, right? I'll also ask, is there anybody that you're not over yet? Is there anybody that you're hung up on? Because some guys can be really hung up on an ex, especially one that they treated like shit, they haven't healed from, they left, and they're like, oh, they're out in dating, and they're like, oh my God, she was a queen and I treated her like crap, right? And then they're out on a date with you, and all they're doing is comparing you to her, right? So these are important questions to ask in the very, very beginning. And we want to interject this with fun too, right? Like, it's not a job interview where, it's not a job interview, right? So there's also the other important part to this too, ladies, is to be in, like, tapped into your divine feminine goddess, right? And so what happens is what we need to do, and this is what I teach inside Feminine Rising, right, is the very heady, delicious, exotic mix of a woman who is embodied in her feminine, meaning she knows how to, like, be surrendered, right? She knows how to receive. She knows how to be gracious. She knows how to be joy. She knows how to be expanded. She knows how to be magnetic, right? She knows that she's gorgeous. She knows she's in love with her body. She has no issues about who she is as a woman at her core, right? That's what feminine embodiment is. There's a confidence, there's an awareness, there's just like such deep self-love there, right? And then the healthy masculine is where she knows how to hold those boundaries for herself, which is also feminine, but she holds a structure for herself. So she knows what questions to ask, and she knows how to, like, shut it down really, really quickly if she needs to, right? So based on the answers that she's getting, like, if I don't get the answers that feel resonant with my body, they're out. Like, I will delete them. I will not contact them again. I am ruthless with this stuff because I don't have time to waste, right? And I want to give indication to the universe, like, yeah, thank you, this quality and that quality, but the rest is a no, right? And we need to be decisive on this. We need to be decisive on this in order to be able to weed out the wrong kind of person who's showing up for us, right? And that's what dating is. It's literally just like, finding out who's right for us and finding out who's not right for us, right? But knowing your intuition and knowing your body and knowing what it is that you want and asking the right questions out the gate is critical for you to be able to do this in a successful way. All right, let me just check here if there are any comments. Because sometimes I can't see them on here. One moment, please. Just going into the group. Oh, and just so you know, ladies, I have started a group. Okay, that's just, okay. So I've started a Facebook group called Dating Advice and Support for Women Who Want to Heal and Find Real Love. We'll put the link in here for you so that you can join. It's a brand new group. And the intention for that group is so that we can just, share stories in there and get advice, like peer-to-peer advice from one another, and to support one another as we're, like, kind of going out there in the dating pool and attracting in the right kind of partner and how to do it and the right kind of questions to ask and so on and so forth. So we'll put the link for that in there. So I don't see any questions. I don't see any viewers. So I'm going to knock off this live stream early, and I am here in service to you. So if there are any questions or anything like that you would like to further learn on this subject, please don't hesitate to send me a DM to let me know, where you're struggling and how I can support you. The other thing that I wanted to talk about briefly today is Feminine Rising is open now, and this is a 8-week group program that I have to help support women just like you through these particular issues that we have, right? And so one of the things that I'm feeling coming through right now on a really big, deep level is a large amount of rage that women are feeling. And it is no surprise, right? We've got a lot of crazy stuff happening around the world. And, our voices are being silenced, like all over the place, right? And so this silencing of our voices is creating, a lot of things like meltdowns and nightmares and just like turmoil within your physical body or within your mind or whatnot, because there are things that you want to say that you feel that you can't say, right? There's a sense of feeling silenced during your awakening hours, and that stuff is just coming out in other kind of ways, right? In other little ragey, jabby, pokey, blamey, whatever it is ways. And that is your throat chakra being completely blocked and your solar plexus being blocked as well. And a large part of the work that we do in Feminine Rising, as I've already mentioned, is to help you be able to find your truth and speak it. Okay. And so, if this is something that's coming up for you and you're really feeling right now like, oh my God, like I am just like, I'm angry and I don't want to feel this way anymore, but I don't know what to do about it. And you really want to, be able to speak up and not have it come blasting out, like fire hosing all over everybody, then this program will absolutely help you with that particular issue and way more. So I feel that this is what is needed right now, for women to be able to feel peace and feel calm amongst the chaos of real life right now. And so if that piece and anything that I've said prior to this is resonating with you and you feel that you need some support right now in order to be able to not lose your shit internally or externally, then I want you to book an awakening call with me and to see whether or not this program is the right fit for you. And the doors are going to be closing in the next few days. And so I invite you to schedule that call and let's get you feeling amazing as you possibly can in the state of affairs that we have right now. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. I'll see you in the next